I have received this email from Harvestrite, and it was marked urgent software update from Harvestrite. So Harvestrite is now going to this version 5.X.19 to basically correct a few issues that was in the 5.X.17. And basically, if you kind of read this top paragraph, they're kind of explaining that there's a bug that can cause a malfunction that can affect your freeze dryer's ability to turn the heaters on and off, thus causing the freeze dryer to be unable to dry food. And those are some little relays that are on the motherboard inside the freeze dryer. So they're going through here to explain what's going on. And one of the things they've also have introduced with this version 19 is a freeze drying candy mode, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. So if you come right down here to the link, it says basically begin your download of the new software. Click this link and this will take you to the Harvestrite website. If you did not get an email from Harvestrite announcing their new software patch for 5.X.17, and you want us to take a look at the new candy mode program, you can go into the address bar on the internet and type in harvestrite.com/software-update and hit enter, and that will take you to this screen here. Here you'll see the download of new software for those using version number 5, and with older machines 3 and 4, there's a link right here. However, it should be noted, if you're running 3.6.11, this is not available. This update has its limitations, so please, please, please read this important notice right here. It says versions 3.6.11 or older are not eligible for this program, and it could damage your freeze dryer. And this is not available for pharmaceutical or science units. No support will be available to revert back to a previous version. It also says please do not share this software with other customers. Direct them to this page to download. That is why this software will not be attached to this YouTube video. You need to go to Harvestrite to get this update. So once again, if you did not receive the email from Harvestrite, please go to harvestrite.com/software-update. And right here has all the software upgrade instructions that you can follow. And after that, it will introduce you to the candy mode. Okay, so we installed the new software 5.0.19. Just to let you know, the 0 in the middle number has to deal with your type of screen. So you could have a 0.0, 0.1, 0.2. My particular screen is a 0. But we're going to go through here real quick and take a look at the menu options. Pretty much nothing has changed as far as the menu options. There might just be one slight little change, and then we're going to go in and show you Harvestrite new candy function. So if you're not familiar with the screen, if you press this little icon right here, that's the function test, which gives you the ability to turn the freezer on or the heater on or the vacuum on independently of each other. The drain function here does not work. So we're going to hit done and go back to the main screen. If you hit where I have this little black box, this is a text box. If you want to name your freeze dryer, you can. I call mine the black box. You can name yours what you seem fit. If you come down here to the Harvestrite name, if you press that, it sends you to the configuration screen. There's about 4 things you can do here. That's where you can set the date and time. Also, if you go into where it says pump, if you press that, it'll give you the opportunity to declare what pump you have, or if you buy the premier pump or you get the oil-free pump, this is where you tell the machine what you want to do. You also have an opportunity to reset the pump hours if you so desire to do so if you do get a new pump. I have the good old standard pump. It's a great pump and it's been working wonderful for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Also here you can change between Fahrenheit and Celsius, and this little thing, when process is complete, right now this will turn my vacuum pump off, or you can make it so it stays on. But pretty much most people have that in the off position where you hit done. If you come down here to customize, this is where the main menus are. The initial freeze really hasn't changed much. It's basically, this is my custom program right here. So I can hit this and we can reset back to the factory settings. So the initial freeze is normally set at minus 10 degrees, but if you want to, you can go down to 20 degrees or you can go up to 0 degrees. And because I pre-freeze my food, I keep mine at 0. So we'll hit the reset again. If you're unfamiliar with the program, the way that the initial freeze works is once it comes down to negative 10 degrees, it takes a look down at this next line to see if there's any extra freeze time. Harvest-Right has found out that one of the biggest problems with inadequate vacuum is food that is being loaded into the freeze dryer that's not quite frozen. So once it hits initial freeze, it'll come down to this line and give an extra hour of freeze time. If you think your food, when you load your food into the freeze dryer, if there's a lot of moisture in there or you don't think it's quite frozen quite enough, you can go ahead and you can increase this time to make sure that the food is truly frozen before the vacuum pump turns on. And that's one of the issues with inadequate vacuum warnings. So we're going to go ahead and reset that again. And when you do, that comes back to 1 hour. The next thing is the dry temperature. This will go as high as 150 degrees. When you get up to that point, that's when you can start burning your food. Technically speaking, food will start cooking around 145 degrees. So if you do set it high, there's a good chance that you could start cooking your food rather than freeze drying your food. Now, this is also new right here, this little message that says, and let's see, we'll see when that actually appears. Okay, so once you get above, 135, this little message comes up. It says candy high temperature mode. And there's a reason behind that. With candy, with a lot of the sugars that are in there, you want to get some really good heat onto your candy to get the sugar to soften or to almost to the point of liquefaction. That way, when the vacuum pump turns on, it'll take that nearly molten sugar or sugar substance, and the vacuum will then pull on it and basically help crystallize it, much like what you see with Skittles. So this will go up to 150, and the one thing I've noticed, this used to go down to 20 degrees, it seems like, but now it seems like they've reprogrammed it to go down to 5 degrees. So that may be something new or something I didn't notice in the last program. Once again, if you hit reset, it'll set you back to the normal functions. Extra dry time is something that's pretty good. It's once the cycle is done, this is the default at 2 hours. It'll give you an additional 2 hours of dry time past the process being complete. Because of sleep and my job, I normally keep my extra dry time at 12 hours. That way, if the cycle finishes when I'm at work or asleep, I don't have to worry about it. You can't over dry freeze-dried food. And because I pre-freeze my food, I normally put this in at 0 degrees, and I usually set my freeze time at 0. I leave it at 125. So these are my customized parameters that I deal with. So I'm going to hit save and save those. Now let me go back in here and explain one more thing. Dry mode. There's a normal mode and there's a fast mode. Now under fast mode, you get this kind of a the heaters go off and on for so many seconds per minute. So this is more of a cyclical type of dry mode. When it's on a normal mode, it's more of a consistent heat. If you want things to go a little bit faster, then you can go fast mode. Now one thing about this, when you hit reset, it does not manipulate this. This has to be done manually regardless if you hit reset or not. So that's something you might want to remember. I have the latest version, 5.0.19. That's also like the candy mode. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into customize, and I'm just going to go ahead and reset all the numbers so everyone can see what I'm doing. So for this particular candy mode, you need to be, what I was told, at least 145 to 150 degrees. Now, however, once you get to 135 degrees, the little message, the candy mode that says candy high temperature mode, comes on at 135 degrees. But talking to the people at Harvest Right, they're telling me 145 to 150. So we're going to go with their recommendations, but I'll have to come back to this and see if candy mode will still work at 135 degrees. So we're at 145 degrees. I want to bring down this initial freeze, because if candy mode is based on heat, the last thing I want to do is to go through a lot of cold to get to the heat, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go through my standard program here, and extra dry time, we're on normal. We're going to hit save, and I'm going to go ahead and start, and it'll take the 15-minute countdown to get to it. And if you take a look right here, there's a message right here that says high temperature mode. That's basically telling me that I'm above 135 degrees. Okay, so we're now into the next. So you'll see the new thing, that this little toggle switch will now appear. So it says high temperature mode, candy process. One of the things I've noticed is the name of my freeze dryer is no longer there. So we're going to go ahead and toggle this from off to on. And I have the drain valve closed, and I have the Skittles, and I'm going to throw them into the tray here, and you can see here's my Skittles. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and close the door, and we're going to hit continue. Now it says, do I want to warm the trays? Sure, why not? So we're going to go ahead and warm these up, because Skittles is a hard candy, and it can probably take all the heat they can get. I can take this, so the default is 5 minutes. Sorry, I got called away by a phone call, so we're going to go ahead and increase this, but you know what? Okay, there we go. Now it's starting to increase. So we're going to take that up to 20 minutes. Because I want to get this load done as quick as possible. So we can see that the trays are now at 131 degrees, and I set my limit at 145 degrees. So we'll see how that works out. Now this is interesting, because my vacuum pump just turned on, and I still had 30 seconds left in the heating mode. So that was kind of interesting to have that happen. But anyway, so it went through that, and now it's on the drying time for 2 hours. So I should have freeze-dried Skittles in 2 hours if everything goes right. Now what's interesting, if we take a look down here in my tray, you can see that the Skittles are already being pulled apart by the vacuum. So they're halfway there, and they're heated, and we'll have to see what ends up happening. Now I think I know what happened in my heating mode. When it first went into the heating mode, it defaulted to the 5 minutes, and unfortunately I got a phone call, and that scrolled down to about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I increased the time up to 20 minutes. But I think the internal workings of this program is going to max out at 20 minutes. So when I used up about 3 minutes of my 5 minutes, and then added 20 minutes, that would have given me about 23 minutes, but that exceeded the total amount of time, and so that's probably why the vacuum pump turned on when it did. The vacuum pump turned on at 20 minutes regardless if I added time to the heating mode. I hope that makes sense. Okay, we're about a half an hour into the drying cycle, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pause the freeze dryer here just for a moment. I'm going to reach back here and open the valve, put that vent just for a moment, and then turn off the vacuum pump. And I'm going to take out a Skittle and sample it to see if it's crispy or chewy 30 minutes into the cycle. So here's my Skittle. You can go ahead and turn this back on. And close the valve. And so here's my Skittle, and the results are it's crunchy. So I'm going to continue doing this. So 30 minutes into the drying cycle, my Skittle was crunchy. So if that's the case, I could reduce the time here down to 0 and end the candy mode, and I think I'd have a good product. And that was one of the points I tried to put behind one of the videos I posted a while last year. You really can't freeze dry a Skittle. You can crystallize the Skittle, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and continue. In another half an hour, take another sample and see if the texture and the quality of the freeze-dried Skittles is any different from the 30 minutes. I'm coming up on 1 hour on the candy mode, so I'm going to go ahead and take a sample. And once again, open the valve, wait a minute or two, and turn off the vacuum pump. So I'm going to go open up the door, pull one out. This time it is a dark one. Shut the door and close the valve. And, well, before I turn the pump on. So this is the one I got at 1 hour in. We're going to see how crunchy it is. Nice and crunchy, but no difference from the one I took out at 30 minutes. So I'm going to turn on the vacuum, and we're going to take a sample in another 30 minutes, which would make it 1 hour and 30 minutes into the cycle. Okay, we're now 1.5 hours into the cycle, and we're going to take another sample. And I have a feeling it's going to be just fine. Ooh, I see a really nice orange one. Okay, the door's open. We're going to take a orange one out. So we have an orange one this time, and still crunchy just like the first two. So we're going to start this up again, and we're going to let the cycle run its full 2 hours and see what happens. And we're done. Hit no defrost. And we're going to open up the valve.
2,091,911 freeze dryer cycle is complete. Sent from power 586,000.
And there's my message telling me the freeze dryer is complete.
38 seconds. Source 02.
Okay, so I just got a text message that the freeze dryer is done. So we're going to open this up. And we're just going to pan down here. And we have Skittles in all the different colors, including the new lime one. So they're all crunchy. And so, let's see, I was able to do candy then. The final dry was 2 hours. The initial program was 15. Then I added 20 minutes, so that's 25. So 2 hours and 25 minutes, I had Skittles. So you don't have to do this big, long, overnight, 24-hour marathon to do it. But with the 2 hours I was giving it to do the final dry, remember when I tasted it 30 minutes into it, they're already done. So technically speaking, you could almost say that the Skittles could be done in, see, it's 30 and 20, it's 50, 55 in an hour and 5 minutes or so. Well, I still think you can do them less than that if you use your oven. So anyway, these are crunchy. Let's drop that one. So there you go, the candy mode. So you'll have to experiment with other candies to see how it will work out. And I'm sure once you find and dial in on the recipe, write it down on what your parameters were. Now, one other thing, vacuum pump will work better at 4,800 feet than your vacuum pump will work at sea level, if that makes sense. But anyway, it works. Congratulations to Harvest Right. And thank you for your time. Please subscribe, and I'll send you another video soon.